Now we're moving away from the story of Adam and Eve to their descendants. And the first descendants would be Cain and Abel. Okay? And so we're now in the section where we begin to see how the lineage becomes very important, and how when it used to be more individual oriented type of spirituality in the garden, now it's going to become more of a communal. That the sin of Adam and Eve has an implication through, especially the sin of Cain, that will have a social implications. And so we're going to look at that dynamic. I tried to title this in a short and succinct way, Sin and Self, but I guess I want to talk about the psychology of sin. I mean, what is sin? And what makes a sin? The psychology of sin. And it's related to self. When we think about sin, we're oftentimes thinking about morality and violation of the commandments and so forth. But actually, the real core problem with our sin is ourself. It's our self-oriented way that becomes actually the stronghold of sin. Okay? And so we're going to look at this text, Genesis 4, verses 1 to 16. And then we're going to go through it systematically. Some points that I want to make. I think you're going to really enjoy today's study. I'm sure you've heard a lot of sermons and a lot of Bible messages based upon the story of Cain and Abel, right? And so perhaps in our minds we have certain way of viewing this text. In other words, we become ingrained in certain way of interpreting this text. But today, I want to give you some options. Okay? And it is based upon the scholar's view. And there are a number of occasions here in which you'll see very divergent interpretations. Okay? And I'm going to point them out to you. So I think it'll be a very enlightening thing for all of us. Okay? So I'm going to start with the problem of Eve. We'll start with Eve because Eve was the one who gave birth to Cain and Abel, right? And so there is a comment about Eve that we want to focus on. And then we're going to focus on the problem with Cain because he seems to be the main person here, isn't it? Abel just appeared for a moment, then he died. But it's really about Cain, isn't it? Here. Okay? And later, Seth replaces Abel, so it's going to be Seth's genealogy. But there's no genealogy of Abel, right? Okay. And then third, we're going to look at the judgment on Cain. Now, what is this judgment about? Okay. And so we're going to look at this text. Okay.